Hello there, this is Blitzwing 1985 speaking, and for today's video / review, I shall be discussing the Transformers Legacy Blitzwing, or myself, technically. So, obviously, Blitzwing, have been in many different Transformers properties, media, and etc. However, I shall be discussing, my original version, or at least a version that is most commonly used and seen in most media, that being, my G1 self. So, to really begin this general journey, which is going to be fairly short since I'm not going to go into large detail of my general past of, me, Blitzwing. With that aside, I shall first start off with my very first appearance back in Generation 1, the cartoon series, and the original Marvel comic book, which was around the same time, that being in 1985, with the original release of my, figure. And along with that, the menagerie other appearances that will follow suit. And most of those will mainly be in supplementary media, that being storybooks, coloring books, etc. Various other choose your own stories, etc. Sometimes even exclusive comic books, TV magazines, and even the eventual successors to the original G1 cartoon, that being the Japanese animes. Primarily that being of the Headmasters anime, which I was only really seen in the couple episodes and not really seen ever again, as once again that shows me centered around Headmasters and not really everybody else that was seen beforehand, so that was a great shame. However, I would reappear once again in the original G1 continuity later on in the 2000s, technically, primarily in various other, once again, supplementary media, mainly in mangas and other side stories, etc., to the original G1 cartoon continuity, that being the Japanese version, even though technically through weird spatial magic, both of them are technically in the same universe, but not really. It's very confusing. But also, the storyline continue on into 2016 through 2018 with the Legends manga. With that being said, that also brought in a whole bunch of other weird things about Blitzwing, that being, Blitzwing is not actually technically a Decepticon. Blitzwing is actually, a part of the larger, more complex military and general product line that the Quintessons have built up over their large, intergalactic, ultra-capitalistic, and journey, technically, or the journal history in the G1 cartoon. It's very confusing. But in the long and short of it, TLDR, whoever, Blitzwing was an Overcharge originally, a Decepticon, not really Decepticon, sorry, but a Quintesson drone that was specifically designed to, be expensive and very powerful and had the ability to triple change. However, Blitzwing would eventually escape that world and would lose his memory in the process, only retaining some of it vaguely, as it was referenced in the original G1 cartoon season 3 5-parter episode 5 Years of Darkness. And that would further expand on in the Legends manga, where it's affirmed that yes, he was an Overcharger, and that also he was technically part of this weird paradox of him being travel back in time and him telling the Overcharger that would become him in future. Once again, very confusing, makes barely any sense. However, I might also be wrong, because I haven't read that manga, because it hasn't been translated from what my general knowledge is, and I believe it's also you can only get through the Blitzwing action figure from Transformers Legends. Once again, confusing. And also, I'm showing out the various action figures of Blitzwing as well, or myself. And as you can see, there are many of me. Even though, yes, not as many in comparison to my, not so friendly relationship with Warpath, where he has received a couple more toys than me, and maybe some more media appearances, as I only have appeared very sparingly in the new Skybound comic books, or during the Android Universe comic books, as I only appeared in exactly 2 panels, I believe, and nothing else And obviously, you include the Earth Spark, only one image. Fun. So, with all that aside and general history, to mainly talk about the figure itself, I shall mainly be mostly focusing on the accessories, which are, well, these. The most strange accessories, which unfortunately mine are, this one is broken, technically. When I was putting it onto a blue black Xerox for a photo shoot, it unfortunately snapped and kind of broke in half. So yeah, fun. I was able to repair it, but still, I had to like repaint it. But for the general gimmick of these is that they're pretty much supposed to be, for lack of a better term, guagu arms, which do have the model kit of the guagu or the juagu. From Mobile Suit Gundam, original anime, MSV, Unicorn, etc. But essentially, supposed to just missile arms, like the Guagu or Juagu, whatever we pronounce it, technically the same or the correct way. Confusing, I know. But yeah, that's pretty much what it's supposed to be. Just missile hands, also arms because they become part of the forearm. So yeah, neat stuff. I will be focusing on this on a later on with the figure because I like play features, etc. But for the other accessories, he does come with, or I come with, 2 of these small but still very large blasters, which are the exact same as seen, or at least were inspired by, the ones featured with the original Blitzwing toy. See, my autofocus is like not working out as originally planned. It's like struggling a little bit here. But generally, they're pretty much based off of the original toy, and also are based off of the original cartoon model. Same goes for the sword. Once again, my autofocusing is not having a good time with focusing on the sword. I'm focusing on the chest on simple here, but enough. But for articulation, it's pretty good overall. It's your standard legacy articulation. Complex, simple, and very easy to handle. The figure has a very nice ball joint at the head. Has very good hinged shoulders, hinged elbows, swivels at the wrist. The figure can also allow, or generally, the head can be posed in how it was in the cartoon directly, or sometimes in fine poses he'll have his head pointing forwards like so. Strange way I can maybe describe it because it didn't really show up the image earlier, but yeah, pretty much the cartoon he'll be shown as this way when he's flying in the air. So yeah, cool, you can recreate that with this figure. Also have a waist joint here as well, hinged hips, which can go forward or back inside and do the splits. Nice thigh cut. Very nice knee bend, although it does cause this piece to unclip a little bit, which has a problem with this figure itself. I believe fixed with delayed release Overcharge, and I believe the dramatic capture version of the, not Jetfire, but Blitzwing. But yeah, a shame that it has that problem with your flex tab. Just number one statement. The ankles, however, are also very good. They can achieve a lot of range or general posability, etc., which is very, very nice. However, due to the fact that these are sort of pieces, it does cause articulation for the shoulders to be very annoying because you have to lift up these panels to have the arms go forward. But also due to the panels, can't go that far. Same goes for back, but that's maybe just kibble in the general design of Blitzwing, which that can be forgiven. So for the general gimmick of these pieces, you have to have the hands to the side. Arms plug on there like so. And my ad has to be the tab pieces, or technically, sorry, the primary ports have to be at the bottom, the tabs have to be on top. And obviously you see it before. The arms had to be posed like this. Technically, it's not the arms, but the hands had to be posed like this for them to tab to here. Just find my report. It's much easier said than done, but there you go. Here's Blitzwing with those missile arms, or technically giant hands. In general, these don't look very good on the figure, as they're very garish and they do look very, if I were a term, off when he's holding on to them. But they are cool nonetheless, and it is also a neat play feature. And also adds to this further, like, wider play feature does with Legacy, with all these energon weapons. It was cool for the time. It looks cool also sometimes. However, for longevity, they do, or at least are known to crack and get damaged very easily. So yeah, that's fun. That also has happened to, I believe it was Eject with Legacy / Kingdom Blaster, where that figure would just shatter in tiny little pieces. So yeah, very, very fun. So yeah, that's fun. But for comparison, here is Blitzwing with an Overcharger, or technically Overcharge. They do look pretty good together. He's Quintesson with Blitzwing's original master, that being the Quintesson Judge, or any other normal Quintesson. His fellow Decepticon Trouble Changer Astrotrain, this being Siege Astrotrain, which still is the superior Astrotrain even after the release, because yes, it's out right now. SS86 Astrotrain, which was a absolute train wreck of a figure. Also, here's a comparison with Megatron, this being the 35th anniversary version of the Siege Megatron mold, and it is my preferred version of that mold. However, I would like to get that CD Series 86 Megatron someday, but unfortunately that figure is very hard to find and also very expensive. And obviously here's a comparison with his arch nemesis technically, because, well, most of the characters in the Transformers cartoon didn't really have a real arch nemesis, besides a couple of them which do obviously have a nemesis and or counter or whatever, that being Decepticon and Megatron, Megatron, Optimus Prime, obviously, etc, etc. But Warpath and Blitzwing were notably seen most of the time to fight with one another, or the general just fought against one another, which makes sense because both of them turn into a tank. So yeah, makes sense overall, but it's a shame they don't really get to see that often in most media. Even in Skybound's Energon Universe, they weren't actually seen fighting together, as Blitzwing was stuck on the Nemesis / Ark when it crash landed onto Earth, while Warpath was stuck on Cybertron like he was in the Marvel comic books. Also with Blitzwing as well, because stuck on Cybertron, the Marvel comic books. Things are weird with Transformers, man. Things are weird. So when it comes to transformation of, well, any Trouble Changer, it's obviously a lot. But also with the Legacy Blitzwing figure itself, it's kind of too simple, to be honest. Mainly just because the whole problem with this figure is mainly due to the fact that, well, not really with the articulation or maybe the quality of the gauntlets being very poor. It's actually had to do with, well, the vehicle modes themselves. Because Hasbro, in general, designers, didn't really put that much emphasis into the vehicle modes. Their whole philosophy for this line of, well, particularly the wider line of Legacy, was have really good road modes with great articulation, etc., which is good. However, that will lead to the general figures being, well, awesome, but the vehicle modes being not the greatest. Overall, over time they fixed this general problem, especially with Trouble Changers in general. As we saw with the later released CD Series 86 Springer, their like second attempt in recent memory at doing a G1 Springer in a proper Jalen Springer, not like based on the IW version. And also you have the version seen with, let's see what it was called again. There you go. Trying to like do all this transformation whilst also having conversation here to engage with the audience. That with the 86 Astrotrain, which was, well, as mentioned before, I'll say it again, a train wreck of a figure, as everybody can tell you that the figure is unfortunately not very accurate to the original movie. So it turned out the Decepticons they're just a very mixed bag. Like, obviously, they turned into a fairly decent, did it spell it correctly? Yeah, it did. Devastator, and the road modes are fairly accurate for like half of them, like long haul, mixed master, and technically you can technically really say that Hook is accurate as well. Maybe Scrapper, maybe really pushing it, but most of them are very stylized and not very much accurate to the film, which is what their whole purpose was, which is a great shame. Made worse by the fact that Astrotrain was more based off the original toy rather than the actual character model seen in the movie, and because of that, both of those, like the Constructicons and the Astrotrain, kind of just fall short in my personal opinion. However, most people say that the Astrotrain is like okay at best, including that the A6 Devastator Constructicon set being okay also. But in my personal opinion, they're both just very not good. And with all that aside, here it is in tank mode, which is fairly well built and looks absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, it does have the exposed cockpit scene in the cartoon, which was a mistransformation error, as most people can detail and tell you that it's just supposed to go this way, technically. So yeah, a great shame, to be honest. But overall, it does look very good. The missile arm is supposed to plug in here like so, and attach these little tabs here for storage, which does look fairly cool. My problem with it that it just looks very garish because they're so large. It is technically accurate since certain tanks, mainly like not really tanks but infantry fighting vehicles like the Bradley, will have like a large like missile pod on the side of it. But with something like this Japanese, I think it was T-71, I can't remember. I think it was, no, that's the Russian one. I forget what tank it is, but it's a Japanese tank. I don't think it ever had like those missile pods on it, nor am I aware of any sort of variant that does have missile pods on it, so it does kind of really work overall. And also, they're way too large in general. So yeah, most people, including myself, recommend just having these off to the side, really. But for jet mode, it is a lot more easier to do it from tank to jet mode in general, and then back to road mode. However, in general, it's still like not the simplest thing to do. So flip these and we're like so, and the arms will be on tab here, and you essentially, if I can just, yeah, it's like stuck. I think it's like, I don't know. It's supposed to be like plug off by itself. I don't know why it's not working. Because of that, you have enough leverage to pull these off. There we go. And flip out the wings. And as you make this horrific mess, you, if I were a term, just try to smush it all back together, like most triple changers overall. The only real difficult part is that you do need like a lot of force to get this nose cone out. It's easy, but you need like a lot of force. Unfortunately, because of that, it does cause this piece to get loose over time. This will be fixed with that of the Overcharge figure once again. However, it is a shame that it does happen over time when it comes to transferring the Blitzwing figure. I believe it is fixed with the Drowning Catcher figure, which it did come out like, what was it, like 2 years ago, I think. So I would assume that would be some reports of it, like generally having some sort of fatigue with, or just degradation of the tab here. But so far I haven't seen any reports, and so far I haven't really seen any reviewers like, hey, this thing does have that, whatever. So yeah, hopefully it just stands the test of time in comparison to the legacy version, as it struggles to tab in place. I think it's like not lined up properly. Let's see. I'm trying to like figure out what's going on here. Oh, that's why. And again, the problem with this figure is that you just need like a lot of force to like really have everything tap in together and go into place. That's perfectly fine for me, but a lot worse for other collectors who don't like to apply as much force to their toys or figures, sorry. And because of that, it does have a little bit of difficulty to handle. There you go. Okay, so after doing all that, you then have to tab these bomb parts to the shoulder pieces. We're starting the back of the shoulders, right? No, sorry, below the forearms. I think because I have my tabs in there, right? Oh, is it popped out again? Yeah, I did. Okay. So, and with that, you pretty much have the jet mode. Once again, it's a lot easier to do from tank to, well, jet, really, rather than Warpath to jet. However, it doesn't really matter which way to do it. It's just, for me, it's easier to do it that way. But yeah. It's fairly simple, technically. It's just you have to use a lot of force. Like that. Even like the land gear, you have to use like a lot of force to get it out. I assume it's better to just use the gun, right? No, okay. That usually works. But yeah, this is jet mode. So, when it comes to jet mode, Blitzwing is kind of a mixed bag, as mentioned before. And this is generally where all the claims kind of just meet, really. And also are, really. Because the jet mode, for a better term, sucks. Although yes, it is still pretty cool. You can use the missile arms again in jet mode by having the both of them tab into here. But in general, it's just not really good of a corporation of this gimmick. It's neat. Like, it works. Like, as you can see, it's very simple, but it adds more guff to this already kind of mid-tier, poorly made MiG. Because again, Blitzwing supposed to turn to MiG, which already you would assume they would have a pretty easy job at turning Blitzwing from a tank to a MiG. Because MiGs are very chunky and very big jets, which is why most people consider it to be kind of a trash jet, really. Not because it's done with the Soviets, it's just because it's too big, too cheap. What it was a high performance, it's like fighter jet. There we go. So yeah, most people consider it just being like a trash jet. But in general, because of that, it doesn't achieve the intended purpose of being a MiG, or even just being a jet in general, because it has all this kibble on the bottom that just kind of weighs this figure down. It has like this little troop snoot here, because panel doesn't like tab on my figure, which again, this affects most copies, because over time, this just hangs out and about. But landing gear does work overall. Even then, you just had to push inwards and outwards, so it kind of works, but not really, because you apply too much force. There it goes. So, with that all aside, that's pretty much it for this review. I have nothing else really particularly to say about Legacy Blitzwing, other than that it's pretty good figure overall. It's just the jet mode just suffers a lot, especially with these loose panels seen here. Might add, this is a problem with all Legacy Blitzwings. This is just simple degradation. Oh, not the plastic, but just comes transformation. It just happens. It's similar to the wing. It just happens. Nothing can really fix it. It just happens. It was fixed with later releases, Blitzwing like the Catcher version, and obviously with the Overcharge figure, which just varies the mold, not the figure itself. It was fixed. However, the figure itself, it's a really good figure. It's a really good Blitzwing. It's a lot better than the Times Return version overall. It just suffers a lot from those various tolerance issues, tabs not really holding in, degradation of even parts, or even parts breaking, like the gauntlets. I just recommend getting the John's Catcher version if you want to get both Legacy Blitzwing and a Siege Astrotrain. Just get that figure pack. And if you're waiting out for the A6 Blitzwing, go ahead, it's your choice. But so far it's looking good for 86 in general, since most of them are either just retools or repaints, or even worse when it comes to like the Astrotrain, where it's just a train wreck of a figure. But yeah, I just recommend getting Legacy Blitzwing if you cannot get a hold of the Dragon Catcher version. But if you can, get that version over the Legacy version, because it has much better tolerances and in general looks a lot better for your shelf. So, in the end, that's all for this review. Like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully I shall see you next time. Bye.